I thought I'd follow up from yesterday a little bit and talk about the kind of practices to do after somebody has passed away in order to benefit them. So, you know, in the case of my friend who passed away, since Chenrezig was a very prominent practice, then I was encouraging his wife to do that practice on a daily basis, including the 8 verses of thought transformation. And since she does the front generation, not the self generation, when it comes to that point, then to keep Chenrezig above her head and to imagine him in front with Chenrezig above his head. And then when you know, you're doing the purification, to imagine the light and nectar flowing from the hearts of both of these Chenrezigs, going down into her, going down into him, purifying all the negative karma, especially in his case, that could cause an unfortunate rebirth or cause obstacles in meeting the Dharma or any kind of thing like that, any kind of hindrance in samsara. So purifying all that, and then also thinking that the light and nectar bring with it all the realizations of the path. And so then to think step by step of all the different realizations that we gain on the path. You know, how to rely on a spiritual mentor, precious human life, impermanence and death, refuge, karma, to go through all of those and think that he's generated all those realizations, and then imagine what it would feel like to have those realizations yourself. What would it feel like to have the realization of precious human life, you know, or the realization of the first 2 noble truths, or the realization of the last 2 noble truths. And so really thinking what it would be like to have those realizations, and imagining him receiving those and her receiving those too. And so to do that kind of visualization while reciting the mantra, or if it's too difficult to do while reciting the mantra, recite the mantra at one time and do this visualization and this way of thinking about the stages of the path at another time. And then at the end, you know, Chenrezig dissolves into her, and she imagines that, you know, her body becomes clear and clean like crystal, and her mind, you know, becomes unified with Chenrezig's mind. And then similarly, Chenrezig dissolves into him, and you know, and he just, you know, his body, anyway, he's left his body, so it's gone, but, you know, his mind becomes very peaceful and tranquil and full of these realizations. And then you know, to think that he is reborn in Chenrezig or Amitabha's Pure Land. Okay, and so I advise doing that practice, you know, on the 7th day for 7 weeks, because they say that if somebody hasn't found rebirth on the 7th day, then they have a mini death in the bardo, you know, and that's the opportunity. You know, they may change how they're reborn at that time. So it's good to do the practice and dedicate the merit for them right before that. There's 2 ways of counting the 7 days. I've heard it both ways. The way I do it is that the day the person died is day 1, you know, and then 7 is from there. And then the other way is 7 days, that the next day is day 1, okay? So you can do either one you want. And then you do it like that for 7 weeks. She said she wanted to do it every day. I said, that's even better. That will really, really help him, you know? And so I think doing this kind of practice, very helpful for yourself, very helpful for the person who died. Then I also recommended to her to make charity of his things, because anyway, that's what he would want. I mean, just on a human level, he wouldn't want all of his stuff sitting in his closets as keepsakes. He would want people to be using them and enjoying them. That's the kind of person he was. But even aside from that, you know, making charity, giving away the person's things, then it creates so much virtue, especially if you do so with the bodhicitta motivation, thinking, you know, I'm making this offering to whoever you're offering it to. Maybe you give his clothes to Goodwill, or she may give, you know, his clothes may go give to his son if they're the same size, or, you know, giving different things to different people who want them. And you think, I'm practicing and developing generosity in order to become Chenrezig myself and be able to really be of great benefit to all sentient beings. And then when you give with that kind of emotion, it creates a lot of merit, and then you take that merit and dedicate that for his good rebirth and for his being able to meet the Dharma and have all the conditions to practice and gain realizations. And so to give his possessions, or also to make financial donations to monasteries, to temples, to the poor and needy, wherever, you know. Just the whole practice of giving is such an amazing practice to create virtue, to create merit. And so to do that and dedicate it for the deceased person. And again, that's especially important to do within the first 49 days, when, you know, it can have a much stronger impact on the person's karma and their future rebirth. Okay, any questions about
Sometimes
doing?
you can like West monasteries to do
What?
fasting. You can like West monastery to do fasting.
Yeah,
Maybe as a-
right, you can you can request monasteries to do prayers and practices. You usually make a donation when you do that. We're going to be doing for this person because he was a supporter of ours anyway. Yeah, but that's also something that's very commonly done. Yes?
How does the seven rhythms? So it's a bit of death, and then the whole thing starts again.
Yeah, it's they say if after 1 week you know the circumstances haven't come together for the karma, you know, to ripen for you to have that rebirth that you're waiting for, then you know, then you go, because when you took that Bardo state being, you got a body that's somewhat similar to the next rebirth you're going to have. So when that rebirth is not going to happen, then there's the mini death, and the person may get another Bardo body, you know, that's similar to then the karma that's going to ripen at that point into the next rebirth. So that time period is when, like if for some reason somebody had you know, been going towards a bad rebirth, where there's the possibility maybe of, you know, kind of increasing the virtue and helping them to go towards a good rebirth, you know, or similarly if they're going towards a good rebirth, to make sure they they continue to go in that direction. Okay. If people always ask, you know, why 49 days? So I would ask His Holiness once, and he and the translator thought this was hilarious, because this is how they reply to questions like that. Because 48 is too few and 50 is too many.
How important is it to, like if we're doing prayers in the evening for someone, especially that are not so physically close, or we weren't so close, to say the name? I mean, is there something about
saying the name? I don't, you know, whether you say, I mean, you have to have how you name the person, you know, so-and-so's husband, so-and-so's mother, you can name them like that, or you can name them with another, you know, with their actual name. Or I often dedicate, you know, all beings who passed away today, may they go forward, you know, in a good rebirth like that.